The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL, but we're the ones that have encouraged you all along to like and share them on social media and with all your friends and neighbors. Because it's time for Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce and hosted by the one and only Joanne Seeger.
Everyone's doing great this morning. Are we all set, sir?
I believe we are.
All right.
Guest and all, yeah.
All right. Well, good morning. So I got a new vehicle. So super happy. My older vehicle felt like it was falling apart on the highway. So my son works at Kia, so I got a new Kia Carnival. Well, you know what? I'm so nervous driving because I don't know any of the buttons, and I can't really see buttons without my glasses. So, oh my gosh. So yes. So let's just say running a few minutes behind because I'm extra cautious. So we have a new guest this morning. Isn't this exciting? Yay. New year, new guest. So we have on the call with us, the Zoom with us, Bob Greska from Carbon C60. Good morning. All right. Can you hear me okay, Bob?
I think he's muted.
Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Testing. So we are a couple
There
minutes.
we go.
Testing.
There
There
he
we
is.
go. I love it. All right. So you can hear me okay? And I can
Oh
hear
yeah, I can hear you fine. You can hear me. New car, that's exciting.
Wow. All right. So let's everyone take a deep breath. All right. Yeah, I usually do breath work at the beginning of all my shows, but since I'm running late, we're not going to waste any more time. So good morning. And where do you reside? What part of the country do you live?
I'm just outside of Denver, Colorado, and Littleton, Colorado, right against the foothills.
Oh, that
So
sounds absolutely beautiful.
it is nice out here. Colorado's a wonderful place. I've been here most of my life, and I love it. I came out here for the skiing initially. You know, I was a hardcore skier, I guess, or medium core, and so I enjoyed the skiing, and then worked in the aerospace business that was nearby. So.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that. So I am curious. So how many feet of snow do you have? Because didn't you guys just have a storm go through?
You know, they advertise the snow in the mountains because that attracts the skier. Down on the plains, you know, Denver's on the plains, and then the mountains go up all of a sudden. So, you know, Denver gets, we probably get, we don't have any snow on the ground right now, just some on the north sloping sides and stuff like that. But it's fairly dry up here. But out in the mountains, they get a couple feet at a time.
I think that's better. That way it doesn't really compromise your day to day, but you can still look at it and go, oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. You can see the snow up there year round.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, for us Floridians, it's like when we get 30 degrees, we're like, all bundled up like it's like an Arctic snowstorm. All right, so Bob, you have we just recently met in Orlando at the convention, and my husband and I were so impressed not only with your backstory, but with the quality of your product. And so I am going to be taking lots of notes for this radio show, as well as my husband who's running the store, because I've been doing this almost 38 years. And even though buckyball, carbon 60, those words have come through my brain waves, it never settled in until we met you and you kind of made sense of it. And there is, because of your backstory, there is a trust, this initial trust, because you are one smart man. So can we start, just kind of let our listening audience know who you are and how carbon even came into your world?
Well, I grew up as a scientist. I was mentored in high school under the guy who developed fiber optics. So I got a lot of experience from him, and he was a materials engineer. And so I went to college and studied materials and mainly studied mechanical engineering, but mostly studied material science and carbon. And then I worked in the carbon aerospace industry out at Lockheed Missile and Space in Sunnyvale, California, building spacecraft frames and structures and the various components out of carbon fiber. And then I moved and followed the skiing to Denver and worked out here in Littleton, Colorado. Again, doing carbon fiber, spacecraft frames and structures and special components made out of carbon. And ceramics too. I worked on when I was out in Sunnyvale, California, I worked on the shuttle tiles, the space shuttle, the ceramic tiles on the bottom of the tile. I was a process engineer, so I controlled the process parameters for the first shuttle that flew back in whenever it first flew. But there was a big project in the heat reentry. But I've worked in carbon most of my life, and I've built altitude simulation chambers, which put a noted cyclist in the Tour de France on the top initially. So he started winning because of these altitude simulation chambers. And then same thing with Michael Phelps, that swimmer that won all the golds. He used a knockoff of that technology. Steve Fawcett, the guy that ballooned around the world, he used that same altitude chamber or a different one, but same concept to get used to breathing lower oxygen when he was up in his balloon, so they didn't have to carry so much oxygen. So
That's
those are
so
some of the,
cool.
yeah, it was kind of fun. It's just kind of fun stuff, and you get to meet all these neat people, and you know, and then what else? On a carbon fiber, I made, the running shoes that have springs in the back, like the Z coils and the Air
Yeah.
Nikes and so forth.
Yep.
Well, I pioneered all that. I developed carbon fiber springs for the back of the running shoe, and that's what was really, it spurred off that market. So I've done a lot of things innovative and off the just different stuff,
You know what?
mostly health
You
and
know what's
human
so cool,
performance.
Bob, is that my listening audience is like, does Joanne have the wrong guest on? He's talking about, air shuttles and, chambers and sneakers. So how did it go from all that to now a supplement? Like, how did you ever turn that career path into something that we would ever take internally?
Well, we needed some carbon 60 for an experiment that we were running. I'm an inventor and I hang out with other inventors. And with my background, I said, I think I know how to make that. Not looking how it was produced elsewhere. As an inventor, you go into things cold and you don't want to study how somebody else does it because you go down their rabbit hole and then you're in that rabbit hole and you don't get out. So um, I I said, okay, I'm going to try making some. So I made a small amount of it and then realized that, wow, this is carbon 60. Um, and then when I was making it in the laboratory, it's very small molecule. I mean, it's a tiny, tiny molecule. This is a mock-up of it. It's made out of 60 carbon atoms. So 60 carbon atoms in a group together, they're small. They're near atomic size, you might call it. And so they're very hard to contain. So I filled the whole room up with this black cloud of dust, and I was breathing it. And I didn't know. I was the mad scientist in there all afternoon working on it and breathing in all this dust. Um, and then I opened the door and let some light come in, stream into the sunshine, and noticed that the whole room was filled with this black dust. And that's when I said, oh gosh, did I just toxify myself? This was the beginning. I didn't know. So I went home that evening and got on the computer and read everything I could about carbon 60. And I spent about 18 months doing the research. And in the meantime, I go back to the lab, make some more. And the more I found out, the more I was interested and found out that it's going to be a very healing molecule as far as it's like an antioxidant, except it's much, much, much smaller in size. Antioxidants give up electrons, and they give electrons to uh, cells that are mutated because when cells mutated, they're missing an electron. That's a problem. They call free radicals. Everybody's heard about free radicals, but it's a molecule missing an electron. Free radical, molecule missing an electron, the same thing. And so when these carbon molecules, can give up an electron, and it's carbon, it's what we're made out of, it's natural, there's no toxicity to it, there's no too much of it. You can't, it's just like if you take too much of it, it just passes through your body like an unused vitamin. So it's not really any negative or downside to it because it's natural. It's what we're made out of. They use carbon water filters, to clean up water. And
And
this,
that's my only experience with carbon is
yeah,
like in all my water filtration for my home, and it's just like carbon, carbon. Make sure your carbon is replaced. Make sure it has carbon in it. So that's when I approached you at the table and you were telling us all the incredible things that the carbon 60 does. I was like, wait, I don't understand because, yes, I know it's in us, and yes, it's a filter, but I never knew it to be used the way you guys use it. So let's go back a little bit. So you're
Sure.
in the room, you have all this carbon 60 around you, you're kind of concerned, you start researching. So you obviously loved what you found, right? So again, how did you start deciphering that language into something that you could sell or put in a bottle, and the dosing and all the uses?
Well, when I did that discovery, how to produce clean carbon 60, because a lot of the processes use solvent extraction technique. They all do. They all use solvent somewhere, either increasing the concentration of the carbon 60 or extracting it from soot. And my process did not use any solvents at all, so it was clean carbon 60. And sorry, so what was the question you asked? I'm sorry, I
So
guess I.
yeah, so how did you go from that walking in a room while
Oh,
you doing experiments to actually putting in a bottle? And yes, some of my customers might know what you mean by solvents, but some might not. If you can clarify, because I know that's the important distinction between clean carbon C60 and not clean.
yeah. Yeah, solvents are like paint thinners or gasoline or anything like that. Toluene is the main solvent that is used in the production of carbon 60. We don't use it, but everybody else does. And so toluene is, I don't know if you remember back in the 60s where you used to the people used to sniff glue to kill a few brain cells and get that feeling of euphoria. Well, people still get a feeling of euphoria from the carbon 60 that's produced with solvents because there's a trace amount of solvent in there. So they get the same thing. But back to go in the laboratory when I made all that carbon 60 and I went home and started researching it. There was a study that was 2012, and there was a study done by the University of Paris in France to study carbon 60 and see they had some clean carbon 60 back then. They processed it um, to the point where they gave it to laboratory rats and they tried to find what is called the LD50. That's the lethal dose that 50% of the subjects matters pass away. They die from the toxicity from it. They could not find any upper limit on the clean carbon 60. And so it ended up the laboratory rats, it doubled their lifespan. They actually lived 90% longer. And that was a big aha moment for carbon 60 is, well, gee, it's going to be a supplement. It's going to help people with its properties to donate electrons. And it's going to be a good dietary supplement to combat most all health issues. Because basically, if you have molecules in your body that have too many missing electrons, that's the problem. You got a high density concentration, like say in your liver or something like that, or in your brain, and they don't function. That now that area of your body doesn't function because they're all missing electrons. They don't know what they are, and that's what the carbon 60 does. It provides an electron back to them.
Is
So
carbon 60 something that we used to get in our diet, and that's why there's such detriment now?
no, there's very little of it available. It's natural. I mean, it's found in space. They found it in intergalactic space. From burning of the different suns out there. They produce it. It's found like near a lightning strike, where it hits a tree. It takes all the carbon in the tree, or not all the carbon, takes some of it and burns it up real hot, and that's what part of the process is the high heat. And then it separates all the carbon molecules, and they all come back together, and they form a carbon 60 molecule. Some of them form other allotropes of carbon, different geometric, arrangements of the atoms. Some of them are in flat sheets like graphene. Looks like chicken wire. Some of them are in round tubes like rolled up chicken wire, and some of them come back as carbon 60. Oh, there's carbon 70, there's carbon 84, there's carbon 109. There's different allotrope. There's different these are called fullerenes or buckyballs, and 60 carbon atoms is the spherical one. And being spherical is the real answer because it's a sphere and it's structurally strong, so it can give up an electron. Sphere is the strongest structure there is. So when it gives up an electron, it doesn't collapse. Anything else that's other shaped molecules, they give up electrons, they deform, and they're not the same thing anymore. So this pretty much remains a savior. There's there's a lot of electrons. There's probably maybe 90 buzzing around the 60 carbon because some of them are double bonds. So giving up 1% of its electrons, it doesn't realize, that it's still stable.
Okay, that's a great explanation. So in the human body, the body just takes it in, it considers it completely non-toxic.
Yes, it is non-toxic. A definition of a toxin is an electron stealer. It comes into your body and steals an electron. Those are toxins. And if you have too many toxins in your body, they'll come in and cause havoc in your stomach or whatever. If you take a poison, for instance, which is a toxin, um, that's why they use carbon activated charcoal. When you take a poison, ingest a poison, they'll put it in there. It'll neutralize the toxin will actually like statically stick to the carbon activated charcoal. Okay, so when it sticks to it, then they either put a tube down there and evacuate your stomach or make you vomit, to get it out of your system. So it's still in there, but but now the carbon 60 works slightly different. It doesn't statically pick up the toxin. It actually gives an electron and neutralizes a toxin so it can't do any damage. So carbon 60 is non-toxic. Positively charged molecules are known as toxins. Negatively charged molecules are known as antioxidants. So it's basically a super antioxidant
That
because of its smallness of size.
You really described that perfectly. Perfectly. I think all my listeners really got that. You did a great job. So now comes to all the amazing testimonials that you have about your products that are in the on the
Mhm.
internet. There are some really compelling stories about just using the drops, because you have a roll on, you have a spray, and you have drops. At least that's what I have, and people are using it for pain, inflammation, oxidative stress, energy. And one thing that my store and wellness center have been kind of switching gears recently, and it makes sense to me now, that to give the body more support and energy pretty much will help everything. Because sometimes throwing nutrients at it, if the body isn't processing the nutrients or taking them in, then it's useless. So we are going more in the direction of helping support the mitochondria, helping support the cell structure. And it definitely seems that the C60 is in line with that. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree. I mean, here it is. I have a representation of a mitochondria. This represents a mitochondria in your body. And if you had a cell would be the size of like a 2 or 3 bedroom house or apartment. And you'd have 1 to 3,000 of these mitochondria floating around that 2 bedroom apartment. And so there's quite a few of them in each cell. Each and every cell has mitochondria. That's the powerhouse. That generates the ATP for your source of energy. Now, the carbon 60 molecule, just to let you know, comparatively size-wise, they're about the size of a head of a common pin, like one of these little dots here. They're very, very small. The ones we make, they're 20 nanometers. So they're very small, so they can go into the mitochondria. When you take your food, your carbon that you get out of your food, and your mitochondria converts that to what's called ATP. That's the energy source that you use for your body. It generates free radicals naturally. And so the carbon 60, as you get older, your free radical removal system gets diminished. And so the carbon 60 helps bolster that and puts that electron so you have more energy. And typically, about approximately 95% of our customers, they report that they have more energy in about 4 days of taking our oral supplement. That's a 45-day supplement right there.
Yep,
And
that's a bottle we did take a
yeah,
picture
yeah.
of, and I keep in my purse. So I don't know if you remember, Bob, but when we met, I came to you because I had mold poisoning, and I know you
Right.
had hundreds of people at your table that day, but I started taking this. Now, I was doing a few other things because I didn't really care what worked. I just needed something to work.
Mhm.
So I did, I bought the, do you call it a nebulizer? The little thing that you had at the table, the little
Oh,
plastic.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I bought that and I did that. And I also took it internally and the spray as well. And now, as you can hear, I am great. I haven't shown any signs of I was having hair loss, tiredness, coughing.
Mhm.
Just it was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah,
Um, so now, yeah, I feel fantastic. I really feel like the best that I felt in a long time, probably for a few years. So thank you. So thank you. And so now you mentioned that they might feel that energy production in a few days. Now,
right.
there are listeners that are like, oh, but what about my situation? I have chronic fatigue, or I have Lyme's, or, I have some difficulty sleeping where they're only getting a couple hours a night. Does that matter?
Well, most people do get better sleep. We tell people to take this in the mornings, morning preferred, because if you take it in the evenings, what happens, it'll turn on a few brain cells that have been dormant because they're missing electrons, and you want to stay up and like do your taxes to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, I
So,
don't
so you
know
don't
about
want to
that,
take,
but okay.
when you start taking it, don't take, it's not like a caffeine kind of a, buzz or anything like that. It's not, it's very slight, but you just have more energy. You're turning those molecules on that haven't been working in your whole body. So the ones that have been dormant in your pancreas are now turning back on. And it takes a while. It doesn't happen, overnight. Some things do topically. We see things happen sometimes very quickly, as short as 2 minutes. People will notice their pain relief goes away if they have a chronic joint pain in their knuckles or something like that, or they have muscle pain. The topical mist we have, which is a spray on. This comes in a little pump squirt, and people, here we go. People spray it on, and so that's a more convenience factor. They both work the same. You can put the oil on topically also, and it penetrates your skin, but you're oily for a couple hours. With the water product, it dries off fairly quickly within 5 or 10 minutes or so, depending on your humidity and in your area. It's
Yeah,
so it's
well,
so
Florida high.
it's more of a convenience factor, and and the water is more expensive. It's a process to put it into water.
I
Let's put it that
understand.
way.
So, Bob, we're going to take a quick break. And before we go on break, can you mention the brand name and your website so in case some of our
Yeah,
listeners want to start exploring?
yeah, sure. Yeah, I got a little. It's Greska's Carbon 60. It's Greska. There's a little logo there for you. And our website is c-60.com, c-60, or you can call, and I answer the phone quite a bit. So the phone number here direct is 720-600-6040. Again,
Wonderful.
that's 720-600-6040. And if you have any questions about anything,
Okay. Well, we're
some
going
of
to
those
come
things.
right back. So hold that thought. And
Okay,
we have another half hour to go. All right. Be right back.
very good. Thanks, Joanne.
We'll be right back with more Joanne's World of Nutrition in just a moment.
Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World and Wellness Center. I am really excited to introduce new guests and topics to my show every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. here on WPSL, where my listeners can call in on any topic. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. We want to help you become the best version of yourself. We'll have naturopaths, coaches. I am looking forward to sharing my years of experience with my listeners so we can enjoy this life journey together.
Visit Joanne's Nutrition World in the Kras Square, formerly known as the Arcade Building, located at US 1 and Orange Avenue, across from Fort Pierce City Hall. Open Monday through Friday from 10 to 4, Saturdays 10 to 3. Taking appointments for the Wellness Center online at joannesnutritionworld.com or call 772-464-3598. Join Joanne Seeger as she guides the Treasure Coast to health, one person at a time, on Joanne's World of Nutrition. Now on a new day, Wednesday mornings at 10 on WPSL.
I am so excited to share with all my listeners all the cutting-edge health topics of today. I look forward to hearing from you. Remember, it's a live call-in show. Any questions you have on health and nutrition, I look forward to answering.
Join us here for Joanne's World of Nutrition every Wednesday morning at 10 on WPSL.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
now return to Joanne's World of Nutrition once again. Here's Joanne Seeger.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. I really appreciate it. And the Wellness Center is getting booked really fast. You can tell season is here. And so we appreciate all of you, and we want to make sure that you get in for the services you need. So if you need a massage, infrared sauna, sound acoustic healing bed, ion foot detox, PEMF, definitely give us a call, 772-464-3598. And Matt's ready to book a service for you. All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. And we have a guest, our first time on the show, and hopefully not the last time, Bob Greska with Carbon C60. So, Bob, you've really, a lot of my loyal listeners I know are taking lots of notes. You are using a few words that maybe some people are not familiar with, but so far you're doing a great job explaining everything where us lay people can understand. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
right,
I try to put it down in smallest terms possible. I mean, there's scientific terms, but everybody, even a scientist, understands the small terms.
exactly. And why do
Oh,
we have to complicate it? You know, that's how
right.
I always say about health, that really I don't need to impress anyone. And so let's just try to get to the core of the issue and really just get people better. So you're doing a great job with in that aspect. So you have the products, you've definitely seen the benefits, but may I ask, some of the information online is a little confusing about how much to take. And I know on the bottle that I have here at the studio, it's the liquid oil, and it says point oh seven of a milliliter. I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
And all my glasses on. So may I ask, how did the suggestion come about?
Well, the suggestion of how much to take is, we started this a company. I mean, carbon 60 is very expensive to produce. Okay. And so what we did, once we made the carbon 60, we got an idea of the cost and everything like that. And it was, there were two other companies out there selling it as a dietary supplement, but they have the larger particle size, and ours are very tiny compared to theirs. So that's why ours is black, and all these other carbon 60 products, they're clear. You can see right through them because they have very large particles, and few of them and far between. Where we have, we have in one serving, we have over 100 billion in that dropper full that you just held up, or a dropper full like this. Here, I'll hold it over here. There's over 100 billion carbon 60 molecules because they're very small in size. So when we started out, I mean, honest to God, I said, how much can we put in here to make a viable business? It was a mathematical economics. What can we do to make a business? Price it at a reasonable price point. And so that's what we did. We put so much in there that was a cost-effective amount that we could run a business and get started and see how. And we tested it out on friends and family and saw how it worked. And then we did some concentration studies later down the road, and we found out by the grace of God, I'm going to say that we had hit the target because we tried higher concentrations, lower concentrations, and what we had seemed to work fine. So
Perfect.
a matter of luck.
Isn't it
you know.
great how we use our friends and family? I do that all the time with stuff. It's
Oh
like,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
going
yeah,
to be our guinea pigs.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah. My mom was a stubborn one. She had a sore muscle in her back, and she had it for several weeks. And she said, "Nah, I'm not gonna. That's not gonna work." And all this kind of stuff. And this is my mom. And then after like 3 weeks of this pain, my dad put some on her back, and within a few minutes, the pain went away. I mean, and so I mean, and
So she
then she was
became a
convinced.
believer. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a believer.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes our own parents are the most stubborn ones. Yeah. So I get it.
yeah, like for instance, my dad, he had low kidney function. His kidneys were functioning low because of a lot of free radicals in his kidneys. That's what causes the problem. And so he was down around 14% kidney function, total function. He wasn't on dialysis yet, but borderline. And so he took the carbon 60, and the next time he went in for his test on his blood work on a, his kidney on a kidney test, his kidneys came up from 14% up to 44% function.
That's incredible.
So, I mean, that's pretty incredible, and that was my dad, so I can talk directly about it. We had another guy, a stem cell doctor in Australia. He was going to put his dog down because it had kidney failure. He gave it the carbon 60. 2 weeks later, that dog was back up and running around like you never know it.
Yes, I
Yeah,
do. I did notice that you have a lot of amazing testimonials about
yeah.
animals too, and I'm a big dog lover. So yeah, so I'm keeping that on the back of my mind. So do you think people are hearing this and it's probably, exciting a lot of them as preventive or therapeutic? How do you normally approach C60 with use?
Well, I mean, if they're going to take a dietary supplement, they're looking for something to improve their health. There's something, if they're healthy and they're fine, most people don't change their diet or change anything. They feel good, they look good, all that kind of stuff. So those people that are actually looking for something to help them out, you know, so it's mostly, um, I guess you'd call it therapeutic, because they got a problem, they want to fix it. So, people can take, like, for instance, okay, preventive, I mean, carbon 60, it's proven that carbon 60, if given to laboratory mice, will ward off radiation damage. So, radiation damage, like from a nuclear blast or from some sort of medical treatment or something like that, where you get a dose of radiation, we always hear it disrupts the cells around the tumor. Well, it knocks electrons off. This puts them back on. Same thing with mice. They gave it to mice and they dosed them with a lethal dose of radiation. The ones without the carbon 60 have died, and the ones with the carbon 60, it didn't even affect them. And that's a peer-reviewed published study that's done. It's on our website, published. Published by PubMed or something like that.
Okay,
So, I mean, there are a lot of studies. You can Google carbon 60 and any health issue and most likely find an answer out there, and show that the benefits, because there's been enough of, carbon 60 was discovered in 1985, so it's fairly new. In the early 2000s, the turn of the century, people started to really look at the carbon 60 and what it does. So it's only been in the public eye as a dietary supplement. I've been doing it for 11 years, but really in the public eye, probably about 5 or 6 years. So it's fairly new, but the results we're having and the testimonies we have, your testimony, are just over the top. It sounds too good to be true, but it's not. Anything you read about carbon 60 is true.
so Bob, is it because microscopes and photography and instruments are becoming so specialized and better that we're finding these molecules? Because I have been hearing so much in the last few years about the mitochondria and the telomeres and these molecules that are just being discovered. How now? Is it because of instruments that are being created? Has it
Well, in part, but there's also a big push, a new area of science or medicine called longevity. People are
oh,
thinking that longevity is
anti-aging.
a disease, or, aging is not natural. So there are ways to help combat and reverse aging now. So a lot more people are taking an interest. Everybody wants to live a higher quality of life. And that's what carbon 60 does, especially if you're in your 60s or 70s or 80s or something like that, where you're starting to feel a little bit down. Like, I have postal workers, they're walking out delivering mail and they say they can't, their knees hurt, they can't do it anymore. They take the carbon 60, they get rejuvenation back in their knees. They can put it on topically. I had a truck driver that unloads trucks. She was, as a female, she was like 64, 65 years old, and driving truck and unloading trucks, and she couldn't do it much more. She took the carbon 60. She had the more energy. She had the quality of her muscles and her joints improved, because it turns all those free radicals back into working molecules. And that's what it does throughout your body, no matter where it is. Whether it's in your eyeball or, I've even had somebody that had a cracked tooth, and the crack, after 9 months, the crack disappeared.
Come on, really?
Yeah, well,
That's
so,
incredible.
some of these things, I have a hard time believing in myself, but I get we have thousands of testimonies of people that come in. We've got a lot of them published on our website, but or just call me and tell me that what you have going on, and I'll tell you I could tell you, we've been doing this long enough that I have many anecdotal stories. We have a very high success rate that this works. I have people that have said, "Oh, I've had this for 3 decades and I can't get over it," and then they take my product in 2 weeks. They say, "I'm on the upside. I'm improving." It's
That
that's
must
how it
feel
works.
good. Yeah, that must feel really good, Bob.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Oh yeah.
It's
I'm the
like
luck.
when you
I'm the
improve
lucky.
someone's health, it just there's nothing better.
I'm
Nothing
the
better.
lucky. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I mean, I got people that I got a call like that every day, at least one
I know.
every day.
That
Somebody
keeps you
calls me
going,
up and
right? Keeps you
yeah.
going. So you mentioned longevity. The anti-aging field, like you said, is incredible right now. Like everyone's talking about it, researching it. And so now I understand. If you put money to something, then everyone starts paying attention. So, um, telomeres, big conversation going on about
Mhm.
telomeres. Tell me about the relationship with C60 and telomeres.
Well, when you have a cell, and the cell as it gets older, it produces more free radicals. Okay, and so if it has too many free radicals, it promotes apoptosis or cell death. So if you can minimize the free radicals, you can prolong the life of that cell, which is what carbon 60 does. So when your cell dies, you use the end of your telomere, the DNA spiral, the very tips of those are where the telomeres are. And once you need to reproduce a new cell, it'll use the tip of that telomere and generate a new cell. And so if you use that less frequency, you maintain the length of your telomere longer, which promotes a longer life.
Okay, that was easy, definitely. Good job. So now with these free radicals being okay, so it's not neutral. It's just basically kind of borrowing it from the C60, right? So it
Right.
takes okay. And so it repairs it so it functions better and does what the body was intended to do in the first place, okay?
Correct. Yep.
So you have tons of testimonials about like the energy, like you mentioned a lot of athletes like improving
Oh
time,
yeah.
run time, swim time. So how is it working with the mitochondria and the energy production?
Well, the carbon 60, well, you've heard of delayed onset muscle soreness where you get a buildup of lactic acid and so forth. And and one doctor explained it to me. I'm not a doctor, I'm a mechanical engineer that lucked into this. Um, and He explained it to me that the carbon 60 will help remove the lactic acid out of the muscles. It's a chain reaction process, about three or four steps. But going through that, you diminish the lactic acid. Now, people that work out, that lift weights or do things like that, or they're a hockey player or whatever, and they work out, they will find out that they can do more reps and lift more weights with the carbon 60 in fairly short order, within a couple of weeks. They can improve their performance, and people that record it and measure it and track their performance, they see a notice. Like I had a hockey player, he was on the B League team, not the professional National Hockey League, but he said he could basically, to all of his weights, doing the same amount of reps, he could add 15 pounds on average to, I don't know, this whole workout that he could, within a couple of weeks.
Wow, and just because the lactic acid is reduced?
Well, part of that, it helps it fire, your muscles fire better. I don't know, everybody knows Arnold Schwarzenegger, but there was another the number three person back at that era was Frank Zane. He's a bodybuilder. He used our product, he endorsed it, he loved it. The person he was training took first place. We've even given it to a horse, in a horse race, and the horse came in, won 6 times in a row, and not by a nose, by 1.5 lengths. And this was where they, four horse races. This is not the professional horse races. This is off track betting. Four people, they put up $10,000 a piece, and they all run, and winner takes all. And he won 6 times in a row. Nobody had raced him. And I've had the same thing in human performance. Marathons, collegiate level races and so forth like that. Their times are better, their speeds are better, their endurance is better. Yeah.
Wow. It's so funny when you said OTB, you had like a major young flashback. That's my dad was one of their regional managers in New York, and I know OTB very well. All right, so that sounds exciting, and I love when you mention again the animals because the placebo effect doesn't take a place. Doesn't take
Yeah.
place. You know that it's real and it's not in someone's mind. I love that. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the pain. You mentioned your mom and how she had the back pain for a while and then finally got that relief. So, do you know the mechanism behind it bringing inflammation down?
Well, inflammation is caused by free radicals, so and it causes the swelling and everything like that. So yeah, the carbon 60, if you put I'm going to say the topical mist we have, if you put this on topically, the molecules are small enough to penetrate through the skin, through the muscles, through the bones, through the ligaments, basically through everything, and seek out kind of magnetically like a magnet would. You have the plus charge of the free radical and the minus charge of the electron that's available in a carbon 60. They attract each other. So they'll actually go throughout all the membranes and seek out and find those things magnetically, sort of and latch onto them. So if you put it on topically, it doesn't really, it's not a numbing, carbon 60 is not a numbing agent or anesthetic or anything like that. It actually goes and fixes the problem that's causing the pain. Now, unbelievable story. This is my lawyer's assistant. She was deaf, black deaf. She could not hear anything in one ear. They were looking at laser surgery and looking at hearing aids and everything like that to get her hearing back. I said, put some of the carbon 60 in your ear, try it out. And so she put some in, dropped some in there, about 4 drops, not a whole lot. And within 2 hours, she could start to hear.
Wow.
The next day, she was on the phone with that ear. And you go, how does that work? Well, inflammation, those 3 bones in your ear, this has got to be, I don't know the real reason, but this makes sense. The inflammation on that is the swelling around those 3 bones in your ear, you get reduce the swelling. Now your bones can rattle again and you can hear. Yeah, it sounds impossible but that's not the only person that's happened to that their hearing was restored. We got people that have ringing in their ears, and a lot of them it subsides on that. Not all of them, but quite a few of them. There's they either put it on their ear, behind their ear, on their skull, behind their ear, or they put it around their eyes for um, eye issues. If you put it on your eyelid like a drop and put it around your eye, rub some on your crow's feet, it helps with wrinkles and aging. Matter of fact, good point. We've got a new product. I just put the label on this about 10 minutes ago, 20 or before the show. But
And
this
what
is
does
our
it
new
say?
product. This is a face serum that helps with you know blemishes and wrinkles and scars and things like that. And the women have been going crazy. We haven't even started selling this yet. And it's no, tell me about it. I don't care if the label's on it or not. I want to buy. So a few of my friends, they got a few bottles out
You
there.
know
So
what's so funny, Bob? Because I do have many customers that they will spend $100 on a face serum, but they won't spend $100 on a supplement.
yeah, yeah,
So I think
yeah.
some of us know that person, but it is one, and I do also mention to them, your serums have toxic ingredients in them, and they're not going to get through the skin. So with yours, that would be different. So I didn't know you were
Yeah.
making that, but that is a valid point. But for now, like this, like you mentioned, the products that we have, the oil, the spray, the roll-on, they all can be used topical.
Yeah, they all can be used topical. Yes, you can. And the only difference is with the oil, you're going to be oily for a while. Now this face serum, we're using squalane oil, which is the high-end oil that you want to use. And this is sunflower. I mean, excuse me, it's sugarcane derived squalane oil. So it's not the shark liver,
Yes,
so there's
I
no
love
animal product.
squalene.
And
Yeah.
all of our products basically have 2 ingredients. They have either sunflower oil and carbon 60, or we even have some specialty oils out there that people that are allergic to sunflower oil, so call us. We don't really advertise those, but we have them out. We have avocado oil that we put it into for a few customers, a handful of customers that are allergic to sunflowers. But then we have the face product with the squalane oil. It's a very low viscosity oil, so it soaks into your skin fairly quickly. Like then, like 5 or 10 minutes, you can put your makeup on.
Wonderful. So you
Yeah.
did mention to take it in the morning just because if there's that cognition effect, you don't want to be figuring out a puzzle, while you're trying to sleep.
Mhm.
Okay, I
Right.
love that. And it can be used daily. It's safe.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So I know that the FDA probably makes you put an age, a beginning age on it. So, what is your thoughts about the start?
There's no age limit on carbon. Carbon's in every food that you have. We've had people take it. I had a couple that they were taking fertility drugs. They could not get pregnant for a couple of years. They took the carbon 60 oil. 2 weeks they were pregnant. Okay, so I've had people take it. I had one couple take it. Well, more than that. But my daughter, she took it through her pregnancy. I had another couple. They called me about this is maybe a year ago, maybe a year and 2 years ago, and their child was 3 years old. They took the carbon 60 through the pregnancy, and they said, "God, my daughter, she is 3 years old. She's so vibrant. She's way ahead intellectually and in front of everybody else." And it makes you wonder why something like that would happen. Well, if your baby is assembled in your body without toxins, because carbon 60 is a super detoxifier, you get rid of the toxins out there that inhibit things to work properly.
Yep.
If you have no toxins, you assemble that baby, it's the way it should be.
That's what I always say. Just get out of the way. Get your
Yeah.
junk out of the way, and the body knows what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of toxins, if you take the carbon 60 and excuse me, but you probably the first day you take it, you'll probably have a discoloration in your stools the first day because it's getting rid of all those low hanging fruit toxins that are available in your body, and most of a lot of them go out of your body the first day. So, but after that, and then there's no like nausea or anything like that, or you feel bad or anything like that. But there's a very few people that do, but you just push through it. You're mobilizing those toxins. You're getting them out of your body, and it's only one day if you do see it. If you do feel a little queasy or something like that, but it's
So
not a bad thing.
I'm gonna assume by the color of the product that so your stools are a little darker. Is that what you
Well,
meant?
no, there's not.
I
Well,
don't recall
once
that.
you no, this would not change your. Now, when I was in the laboratory and I would filled up that room with a cloud of smoke or dust, and I was breathing it for 6 or 8 hours, I probably consumed 100 about as much carbon that goes in 100 bottles. So my stools were black for 3 days.
Okay,
Okay, I
gotcha.
mean, and they were, and that's why I went home and I said, oh my gosh, should I toxify myself? Do I? So that, and that's when I really researched for 18 months, and I did. I spent 18 months day and night and going back, and I was excited,
Great.
and
Because you
so
didn't
so
die, so that's a
no,
good
no,
thing.
no. There was no negative. I had no negative except for the black stools. I had no negative. I felt the cleansing in my body, but that's only a feel. That's not really a scientific study. Um, but I felt like I was cleansed, and I had no other symptom besides black stools.
Well, some of the people in my industry, that's all we go by, how we feel, and then we spread the word.
Yeah,
Sometimes that matters. And
yeah,
I have met many people that have personally taken your product at the show when I mentioned that I ordered at the show, and all positive reviews about you. Because I gotta say that sometimes these testimonials might sound puffed up. Some people
mhm,
might be listening, might be like, really, 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 but I do know you, and I have seen some testimonials live and in person, so it is a real deal. And
yeah,
and again, I tell people there's many tools we can put in our toolbox. It's just like building a beautiful home. You need lots of tools, right?
mhm.
And this definitely can be one of them. Safe, effective, and really good quality product that you produce. So thank you for that. And again, we'll go back to the very first comment of the solvent that's used. It's really, I've been preaching about this for 30 something years about get quality supplements. You make sure the sourcing is correct, the solvents are correct, the fillers, if there has to be one, that it's the best that the body can handle. So thank you for doing your homework on that one. And I love
Well, just to reiterate, we use no solvents anywhere And we're the only company that produces carbon 60 that uses no solvents. My discovery in 2012 was huge. I didn't know it at the time, but once I found out later that everybody else uses solvents in their system, somewhere with their carbon 60. And the big thing, there's a little bit of toxicity with the solvent that they use, but they form very large aggregated crystals. Like when you see mud dry and mud crack, and when all the mud dries and that water evaporates, the same thing with the solvents. The solvents evaporate, everything all the molecules kind of pull in together and they stick and they form these large aggregated crystals of carbon 60. We don't have that problem because we don't have any solvents anywhere, never. Never use them. So
Yeah, and I love that because why add one more difficulty that your body has to figure out if you're trying to help it? It's
yeah,
like it doesn't never made sense to me. So I love
yeah.
it. So all right, so Bob, so we have about a few seconds left. Can you again mention your website
Sure.
and your phone
Uh,
number?
our website is, and there's a lot of information on there. It's packed full. Read a lot of it. We got videos, we got TV shows, we got radio shows, but it's c-60.com. And the phone number, if you want to call direct, is 720-600-6040.
Great. Thank you so
Right.
much, Bob. I appreciate the time. All right, everyone.
Thanks, Joanne.
Take care. All right, everyone. Have an awesome week. And remember, if you want a Kia, go to my son, Bev Smith Kia. Jonathan. Thanks, everybody.
All right, Joanne's World of Nutrition, presented by Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce. You can binge watch Joanne's World of Nutrition on YouTube, Go to WPSLTV.com. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world. It's 11 o'clock.